give you a little shop update here. Part of the shop update is going to be something new that I got for the shop, and then the other part of the shop update is just a couple of machining projects that I had to do for a contractor that I used to work for. Just boring out a bushing, and I actually had to modify some Orifice plates for a foam system, a foam fire protection system. So I'm just going to throw this together. It's going to be probably a short video, just the new purchase for the shop and a little bit of machining. Okay, so I got back from my trip to Pensacola, Florida, and delivering the shaper to Abom. And while I was down in New York, I picked up a new addition for the shop. It's a Kalamazoo bandsaw, horizontal bandsaw. And let me just take you a look around it a little bit, and then I'll point some things out. It does have a subtype of a coolant or oiling system for the blade, and as you can see, this big pan is the catch basin for that coolant or oil. Now this rod that's attached out the side of it is just a stop. You can use it to it's a stop for cutting. I opened this thing up. It was closed down. You can probably see where the blade wasn't rusty. It was down in here. I opened it up. It looks like it actually measures 14.5 the way it is right now, but I could probably go a little further back there. Yeah, 14 3/4. But that, of course, this is behind the backrest for the material chuck. So, I don't know. The other way, I've got it propped up with a piece of wood, and I'll explain that in a minute. The way it is propped up right now, it looks like 7 or 8 inches. Now, it will go up further than the wood has got it. So, I don't know, maybe 12 by 8. 12 by 6, I'm not really sure, but I'm really happy with it. It's got a what looks to be a 3/4 inch blade on it. I'm not sure of the length. I haven't gotten to measure that yet. There is a couple of things on it. There's this original name tag, this kind of cotter keyed onto this piece of support steel in between the two guards. That's where the belt guards go, and you need 2 hands to open it, so just bear with me here a second. This is the inside, the wheels and everything, which appear to be in really good shape. Doesn't look like there's any breaks or wear in them, a lot of wear in them. One of the things I want to show you is inside the cover is the original instructions for it. Kind of torn and dirty and faded, but they're there. So that Kalamazoo sticker or tag that's on there is kind of a raised thing, so I'm going to pull that off, and I will be able to read what was on there and probably get somebody to paint it. It looks like it was red, maybe red and black originally, but it does have the original Kalamazoo sticker on it, or a plate tag that has the model and serial number on it. Now, it's very hard to read because it's been abused. It's been dinged up and smashed and everything else, so it's kind of hard to read. But what I'll do is I'll include a photo of it with this thing, and I tried looking at it. You can read numbers off of it, but it's in between scratches and dings. One of the things that I don't think this switch, okay, so why I have that board propped up there is because the hydraulic cylinder doesn't work. The adjustment for the hydraulic cylinder is this knob right here, and it won't stay up. If I can get in there and take that board out, I'll show you. Yeah, no matter how you put that knob, it won't stay up, so that cylinder is going to have to be rebuilt. One of the things that I wanted to show you, and I'm not sure, apparently this thing came from the York, Pennsylvania area. I have a sticker on it. It looks like well, it is Campbell. So I've got to assume it's not Campbell, like Campbell soup, even though the color does kind of match. But anyways, I got to assume it's not that. And then they have this embossed number thing on it. So it probably was some kind of a large manufacturing plant down around there, maybe. Why I say large is because usually smaller companies wouldn't go to the trouble of having an embossed tag like that. But anyways, if anybody knows anything about that, I will just leave a comment, and I will put that picture in there. A couple of other things. This is of course the chuck wheel. A handle to this little knob lets you freewheel and pull that chuck back. It's kind of stiff and needs some cleaning, but when you put it back down again, yeah. Well, when you put it back down again, it allows the, there it goes, allows the wheel to go back and work it. Again, it needs some cleaning, but I'm really happy with it. It's a Baldur motor. It's 220, 440, 3-phase. 1725 RPMs and 3/4 horsepower. That's an old motor. I'm not sure if it's an original to this bandsaw, but it's an old motor. But anyways, I have a cord that came with it. Now, the one thing that I don't know, this guy, an old Polish guy, spoke hardly any English, swears that it worked. But then he says, well, he never had it running either, but he swore that it worked when he got it. So we'll find out. I didn't pay asking price because of that issue, that I don't know whether it works or not. So what I'm going to do is, for now, just go out and get a plug. I need to get another plug for that for my 223 phase outlet, and I will let you know what happens with that. But I'll bring you back. New addition to the shop. I want to, just as a side note, I want to get this thing up and running as soon as possible. I'm in desperate need of a good bandsaw in the shop. I mean, I've got that smaller one, and it served me well for what I paid for it. It's just a Taiwan bandsaw, and it's hard to get big stuff in it. You put big stuff in it, you got to make 2 cuts. But I want to get a good bandsaw up and running. Maybe a little bit of a lead-in table and outboard table also onto it. Just for the stock. I'm not really sure where I'm going to put it yet. If I do put tables on it, it's got to be kind of a permanent arrangement. So I'll figure out where I'm going to go with it. I've had some stuff in here, fairly long stuff, like 20-foot pieces of tube steel that I've cut before. So I need access areas on wherever I set it. I need access areas that where the stock wouldn't be bumping into the mill or other things. So I've got to kind of figure out where I'm gonna put it. But for now, I want to get it up and running. My only three-phase power is over here behind the mills on where you see that plug over there for the K&T, where the K&T's plugged in. For now, what I would probably do is just get a long cord to run over to wherever I set it to get it operational, and then I'll deal with it later about where it's permanently going to go and bringing some power over near it. Just a little shot of the lathe. This is just that grizzly lathe. Company I used to work for, they use these, let's call them sleeves, and I make some of them for them. What they are is bushings for a hole saw. They fit into a jig. The bushing fits into a jig, and you size it for a hole saw, so they can put the jig on like a piece of pipe, and then the bushing goes in there for whatever hole saw you want to use, and it aligns it so that you can drill it down through straight. Well, they just had this one, and they needed it bored out for this size hole saw. So that's all I'm doing. So I just kind of want to show you that I'm using not carbide, it's just a conventional high-speed tool steel bit, in doing it with that. Now it was already bored out to I think it was at 125 when I started, and I got to go up to 1.5 inches. So that's all I'm doing. I'll show it to you when I'm done. What I'll do is I'll put another after I'm done boring it and make sure that the hole saw fits in there. I'll chamfer the edges with a tool, but I'll show it to you when I'm done. Okay, so there it is, done. Again, I just took a tool and chamfered the edges of it. One of the things that the teeth on the hole saw are, the diameter of it is a little bigger than the shaft, so you kind of got to get it so that the teeth go down there, but then when you get the teeth down into it, there's a little wiggle room. But that's the downfall of the beast, I guess. It's really not much you can do. You'd be surprised in the variations of manufacturers and hole saws, how they differ. Some of them, their teeth are exactly the same diameter as the shaft, so it's easier to get them. It depends on what kind of hole saws that they're using. So that's why I had him provide me with one of the hole saws, the brand of hole saws that they're using right now. So it fits. Piece is still a little warm, so as it cools off, it'll shrink down a little bit too. But that's that. There's some other things that I got to do. These are Orifice plates for, I didn't even ask them what they're for. Probably Orifice plates for some kind of a special hazard system. You can see that the inside diameter of the hole is 0.734. it could be a foam proportioner actually for fire protection systems. But what he wants me to do is turn these pancakes, and we used to call them pie plates or pancakes. Little tab that goes so you just know that it's in there. The orifice is in there between flanges. What he wants me to do is turn it down to these things. Take these and make it like a disc washer. So I'll put that over on the mill and probably do it over on the mill. But I'll show you that when I do it. I just kind of wanted to show you this. This is a curl that came off the lathe from boring that thing out. I've never had one that long before. It's probably about 6'4", 6'6". My great granddaughter said springs. They remind her of springs. Long springs. But I just wanted to show that to you. What I'm doing here is changing the jaws around in the 3-jaw chuck so I can chuck this plate up in it. In the previous video I had alluded to the fact that I was going to probably do this on the mill. Well, I decided to just chuck it in the 3-jaw chuck. And what I'll do is I'll put a parting tool in and slightly angle it so that it cuts it off on the inside more than it does on the outside. But I'll bring it back. What I'm doing is just taking them off. I've never run into a 3-jaw chuck like this. These are actually Allen bolts that hold the chuck jaws onto this. Usually I'm used to jaws coming out and you flipping them around and then reinserting them. I've never ran into one like this before. I've done these two. I've got this one, and what I do is I'm pulling it off, taking it over to the parts washer, cleaning it up, brushing off the actual jaw guide in there, getting all the chips, dirt, grease and stuff out, and then I'll lubricate it up a little bit and put it back together so that I can chuck it up into these jaws. So there it is. The jaws are all reversed now. Kind of sprayed it down with WD-40. Not really sure what kind of oil you're supposed to be putting in there. Maybe I'll try and put a little bit of whey oil in there to see if I can get it operating a little smoother. Not sure if it's been the first time that it's ever been cleaned or the jaws turned around even. I had bought this lathe at an auction, so I wasn't the original owner of it. Bring it back. Okay, so it's in, and I've cleaned all the jaws, everything up, put some whey oil on them, ran them in and out a couple of times, wiped some more of the dirt off that came out of it. But I've got the part in the lathe, and probably what I'm going to do is put an indicator against the face, but I'm not really sure. What I did is it's kind of thin material. Hang on a minute, I'll measure it for you. Yeah, with the calipers, I'm getting between 62 and 65, so it's a 1/16 of an inch thick. As you might be able to see on this one chuck, there's little grooves in it. So what I did is kind of fed it into the grooves, and it is running pretty true. Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a big variation in it. The only difference the variation would make is not the cut itself, the diameter of the cut, but how it cuts. If it's off a little bit, it would cut more on one side than on the other side. So I just don't want to be dealing with having it cut through on one side and then having to figure out a way of getting the rest of it cut off. So I'll bring it back when I do it. Okay, I'm not going to show a lot of this. These are those things after I cut it out. Now, what I did is, that's hot. That one's hot. I just cut that one off. It's a little oversized, so, and it didn't come out actually, the outer piece comes out a lot better than the inner piece, but I cut it oversized. So what I'll do is, I've got a 3/4 inch bolt here, and it fits perfectly in there because that diameter of that thing is 0.734, which is almost 3/4 of an inch, and the threads fit perfectly into that hole from a 3/4 inch bolt. So I'll just use it as an arbor. The 3/4 inch bolt is an arbor, and I'll just reverse some jaws around in the thing, in the chuck, and chuck the bolt up, and then just turn down the disc. But again, I'm not going to show it to you, me doing it. What I've got is I've got a parting tool. I actually flipped it upside down and using the reverse side of it, or turned it around and using the reverse side of it, because it's more pointy. What happened was, as you pressed into it, it would kind of depress that disc. The disc would flex into it. So I got the pointy side into it, and it still kind of gums up a little bit. But anyways, I'll bring you back. What I'll do is I'll show you one. I've got the chuck jaws flipped back around, got it on a bolt. Again, it's just the right size for it. What I've got is I've got my tool set. I just pull it in, cut it off. What I'll do is I'll just take the file the edges. There you go. Gotta clean it up a little bit. It's got a burr on it, but I'll do that off camera. So there it is. There they are. I had to stamp them the 0.734, but they're all in the box. I gave them back this scrap brass. I don't know whether they want it or not, but it's done.